Hey everybody, how's it going? Back with another Battlefield 6 Portal tutorial video. In this tutorial we're going to be going over area triggers and how to use them. Essentially what an area trigger is it's just a way to detect when a player is in a certain area. So there's a lot of different use cases for this. I mainly use it to detect whenever a player is in my spawn areas, whenever I make a custom map. You can use it for, say, if a player is in a certain area and you don't want them to be able to sprint or prone, you can disable that. If they enter an area, you can give them weapons or take away weapons. There's just many things you can do with this. So I've created a sort of template script here for when you want to work with area triggers, and I will provide a link in the description of the video so you guys can get access to this and use it. So when you're working with area triggers, you really are going to be working with two main functions, and that's OnPlayerEnterAreaTrigger and OnPlayerExitAreaTrigger. They're pretty self-explanatory. This one will fire when a player enters a certain trigger, and this one will fire when a player exits a certain trigger. So in order for you guys to take this script and set it up to do whatever you want it to do, all you need to know is this variable at the top here. It's the ID 999, and that's going to align with the area trigger we create in Godot. I will swap over to that in a little bit, but I'm going to finish explaining the script first. And then right here we have a set, which is essentially just a list, and we're going to store the players that are in the area trigger. So if you look at our OnPlayerEnterAreaTrigger, these two lines here, right here, the trigger ID, all this line does is it gets the ID of the area trigger that has been entered, and then this line here gets the ID of the player who has entered it. And then essentially we have an if statement here, and it says if the trigger ID, so the ID of the trigger that has been entered, if this is equal to our spawn area trigger ID, which we set up here, then that means that they entered our custom area trigger that we created, which is our spawn area, whatever you want it to be. And then once that is true, then it will essentially run all the code you put in here. And all I'm doing is I'm adding the player who has entered the area trigger to our set, to our list. And then I'm also going to display a message on screen that basically just says you have entered the area trigger. And then if you look down at the OnPlayerExitAreaTrigger, it's very similar to this one. We're getting the trigger ID, the player ID, and then the same if statement. All we're doing is removing the player from our list. And then we're also displaying a new message that says you have exited the area trigger. But like in this block right here, you can set this up to do whatever you want. You can disable sprint, you can disable prone, you can give a player a weapon, you can remove a player from a weapon, you can teleport them somewhere else. You can do whatever you want in these blocks. I just have very basic examples here. And then right down here, I've also created a helper function called isPlayerInAreaTriggers. So in your code, wherever you want, you can call this to check and see if a player is in that area trigger. And then also I have another system function here on player leave game. So whenever a player leaves the game, it's just going to clean it up and remove them from the list. And that is essentially the script. So all the main thing you need to remember is you need to update the ID here. And then if in these if statements, you need to set up your custom logic. So yeah, I will provide a link to the script in the description so you guys can use it. We're going to hop over to Godot now and show you guys how to set it up over there. Okay, so we are over in the Godot engine. All I've done is open up the map Empire State. I've created a platform in the sky for the demonstration. I've also brought both spawn areas up here so we can spawn here and test it. And I've also made a barrier through the middle of the platform. And so for this test, all I'm going to do is whenever a player walks through this entry right there, there's going to be an area trigger here that triggers that message. So to set this up, it's actually fairly straightforward. All you want to search for is an area trigger. So once you find an area trigger, there it is. You want to drag it in. You can put it wherever. I know it looks like an actual object, but it's actually invisible and players cannot see this. So don't worry about that. And then if you look over here in the inspector tab where the object ID is, we have to make sure that the ID of this lines up with our script, so 999. And then once you have the area trigger placed, the next thing you want to search for is a polygon volume. And then you want to drag that in. And then you want to drag the points of the polygon volume to the area you want. So I'm going to make it the entire second half of this platform. So I'm going to drag all of these points to about there. and then these other ones to the end of the platform here. Cool. So that's the area I want to be triggered whenever somebody enters it. And once you have both of those placed down, you want to click back on your area trigger. And then if you see this line right here in the inspector tab, area with the assign button, you want to click this button and you want to find that polygon volume that you just created. So you click on it and then you click OK, and that links the two together. So whenever a person enters this polygon volume, this area trigger is going to fire that function. So it's not too difficult to set up. So now I'm going to upload the map and the code to Portal, and we're going to hop over to my Xbox and demonstrate how this works in game. Okay, as you can see, we're spawned into our map here. You can see the entrance over there. If we go walk through it, you'll notice in the bottom right corner, we'll get a notification that we've entered the area trigger. There it is there. And then if we wait for it to disappear and leave the area trigger, we'll get a notification letting us know that we left it. So that's it for this tutorial, guys. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you have any requests for any specific Battlefield 6 Portal tutorial videos, let me know down in the comments. But with that being said, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.